All right, well, let's go and get started. I want to say hello and welcome to everyone to the Physical Activity Alliance webinar on workplace wellness and the CEO Pledge for Physical Activity. My name is Tom Richards. I am the Director of Engagement for the Physical Activity Alliance, and I am so pleased to be joined today by our fantastic panelists who I will introduce shortly. We have two goals for today. The first is to inspire employers to adopt workplace policies that promote physical activity throughout the workday. And second, we'll learn about how the CEO Pledge can be a powerful tool for creating a supportive workplace culture that prioritizes physical and mental health. Please feel free to use the Q&A function during our time together. We will try to answer some of the questions before the end of the hour. And if not, we'll try to respond in a follow-up email. And now, before I introduce our amazing panelists, I just want to provide a quick overview of the CEO Pledge. Ayana, will you please bring up the first slide, please? And while Ayana pulls up the slides, I'd like to take a moment to congratulate her, Ayana McKnight, the Director of Operations for the Physical Activity Alliance, on being named by the American Journal of Health Promotion just this morning, breaking news, as one of the top 20 under 40 in the field of health promotion. So congratulations, my friend, and thank you for all that you do in this very deserved honor. So what you see on the screen here is the text of the CEO Pledge. We like to think of the pledge as a social movement to make physical activity and healthy movement a cultural norm in the workplace. The intent is for the pledge to be flexible and adaptable, really to any worksite environment. And most importantly, we just want workers to feel like they have permission to move. And this, the text of this pledge is available online, and we'll also send it to all the attendees today. Next slide, please, Ayana. Today, we are very pleased to announce that the CEO Pledge is aligned with the White House challenge to end hunger and build healthy communities. Here's the pledge we made for this initiative. You'll see here that we talk about 1,000 CEO pledges from the nation's largest employers. And we're really excited about this commitment. But I do want to stress that this is just one piece of the social movement, and that we encourage organizations and CEOs and leaders from all sizes of organizations to sign the pledge. Next slide, please, Ayana. This is our most frequently asked question, so we wanted to include it today. Who's eligible to sign the pledge? It's called the CEO Pledge, but really any type of recognized organization leader is welcome to sign. You know, it's not really so much about the title, it's really who's the recognized person. And as I said before, leaders from organizations of all sizes are encouraged to sign. We like to say anywhere from 2 to 2 million are encouraged to sign. So with that, I would love to bring in our wonderful panel and introduce them. And I think we're going to, there you all are, wonderful. Today, we have Karen Mosley with us. She's the president and CEO of the Health Enhancement Research Organization, also known to many as HERO. And Karen is the co-chair of the CEO Pledge for Physical Activity Advisory Council. We have Chase Sterling with us. She's the founder and CEO of the Wellbeing Think Tank. And we have Jack Groppel, the Chief Science and Wellbeing Officer for Next Integrative Minds Life Sciences, also a Hall of Fame inductee to the United States Professional Tennis Association, and he is Karen's co-chair for the CEO Pledge Advisory Council. Thank you all so much for being here with us. I'd like to start. Can each of you just tell us a little bit about the organizations you represent? And maybe Karen, we'll start with you and HERO, please.
Sure. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for the invitation to have this discussion. Really looking forward to it. So HERO has been around since the late 90s, established to identify and connect science and practice for an evidence-based approach to workforce health and well-being. We have continued to update our HERO scorecard, the HERO Health and Wellbeing Organizational Best Practices Scorecard, in collaboration with Mercer. a free online tool for organizations to be able to understand how they're doing against national average, also against others in their industry or region or by size across 6 domains. For that, a comprehensive approach, the strategy, the organizational and leadership support, measurement and evaluation, and data. We do these things. Research is our middle name, and so that is one of our key pillars, and our research agenda guides our activities. And we also have a very strong learning agenda that comes alongside to again close that science and practice loop. So we're a member organization, and our members support our work through research committees and through our education committees, and just really strive to make as much of our own research as well as the research that we collect and scan across the industry, make it available for all, because it is going to take everybody to raise the health of the nation. Thanks, Tom.
Absolutely. Thank you, Karen. And what an incredible resource HERO is for the field. Chase, can you tell us about the Wellbeing Think Tank, please?
Absolutely. Thanks so much. So Wellbeing Think Tank is an educational organization, and we offer free virtual events on the 3rd Thursday of every month. And we're really focused on collaborating with experts who are passionate about using evidence-based practices to improve not just individual well-being, but organizational well-being as well. And we tap into a variety of disciplines. So from population health management to diversity, equity, and inclusion, organizational psychology. We're really an aggregator of resources. So elevating things like the HERO Scorecard or the CEO Pledge to really help push evidence-based information into the hands of HR professionals, business leaders, and wellness practitioners who are running workplace wellness programs.
Thank you, Chase. Chase, if anyone's interested in those virtual meetings, is that something they find on your website, how to sign up?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just wellbeingthinktank.org. I can drop it in the chat too.
Great. And we'll do a follow-up email to everyone as well. Thank you. And Jack, I'm tempted to ask you some tennis tips for my terrible tennis game, but I think I'd love to hear even more about Next. Can you tell us about Next, please?
I think the most common question I get, Tom, is, Jack, when are you retiring? And the answer to that is never. My career has been sort of it's been transitioning. Many people know my background from the Human Performance Institute that was co-founded in the early 90s, and it's important to recognize that, because the things I'll talk about later on research findings around movement in the workplace, that we've been studying this for decades. And I continue that, not yet with Next, but with Evolve Leadership, because they've taken what we did at HPI and the energy management technology that we developed, and I'm on their advisory board. And then comes Next, which I found is a digital form of behavior change around well-being and human performance. And I was blown away. I didn't think I'd see it in my lifetime, actually, what they're doing. So I'm on their board of directors, and I'm also their chief science and well-being officer.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here. I couldn't be happier to be a part of this panel. Let's start with some general questions about the state of workplace well-being, if we can. Karen, I'm wondering if you can kick us off with maybe a definition of what does workplace well-being mean in 2024?
So HERO, when we recently, or a few years ago, refreshed our strategic plan for the next 3 to 5 years, we did an assessment of all of the definitions of well-being. And so HERO aims to use the definition used by Healthy People 2030. I don't have it in front of me, so nobody, correct me if I won't quote it, but basically it is that it encompasses the whole person. So thinking about the whole person and all of the domains of well-being: spiritual, financial, emotional, purpose, social connection, mental and physical, so that people can live their best lives and are able to access, have all of the tools that are accessible to them to be able to live their best lives. Live, learn, play, work, pray is a common phrase sort of used in that sort of total whole person well-being.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Karen. And if you made a mistake quoting Healthy People 2030, we can go back and overdub it for the recording. But I think you nailed it. So thank you so much for that. We're talking about a really comprehensive approach to well-being is what I'm hearing. Chase, what are you seeing in trends and innovations around how to apply this approach?
Absolutely. Well, I think everyone can probably agree over the past several years, we've really been seeing organizations focus on worker mental health, which is really amazing to see, really trying to break through stigmas and provide a lot of support and resources. But thinking back to this really holistic approach is, I think, the trend and the innovation, and where employers are starting to realize that they need to go, and some are already there. Something like physical activity can positively impact mental health outcomes. So it's really about bringing everything together. I used to work at a large technology company, and their phrase is focus on the user and all else will follow. And I think with workplace wellness, it's focus on the human and all else will follow. So I think we're seeing a lot of organizations talk about human needs, centering the human, rehumanizing the workplace. So along with everything Karen said, it's really, how do we take this really holistic viewpoint of worker health and well-being, and also organizational health and well-being? And I think when we do that, we can have what I call the triple win. Workers are healthy and happy, organizations are thriving, and we're also meeting the needs of the communities that we're serving with whatever type of work we're doing.
Thank you, Chase. Focus on the human. I love that idea. The triple win, being holistic. Maybe open it up to all three of you. What are some of the biggest challenges with bringing this holistic approach right now? What are either from the vendor side, from the employer side, the employee side? What are people talking about trying to overcome right now?
One of the biggest challenges, Tom, really is the dispersed workforce now. Coming back to the office does not look like what employers and employees have a different view of what coming back to the office looks like. And so being able to support workers where they are, wherever they are, I think is probably one of the biggest challenges right now. GLP-1s has also really thrown not a surprise, but a challenge for employers to embrace the positive attributes that these obesity drugs are able to provide for so many, but also being able to responsibly provide it as a benefit that is sustainable and supportive. And so I think is probably the challenge of the day.
I think we could have a whole other, maybe we'll bring us all back to do a GLP-1 webinar very soon. Thank you. Chase or Jack, any other challenges that you're encountering or hearing people talk about?
Chase, go ahead.
I think sometimes it's just believing it's possible. Our brains have this negativity bias. Sometimes it's hard for us to see that this is really possible. And we lead with the excuses of, well, we're plumbers, we're construction, we're engineers, we're out in the field. And it is possible. And I think really understanding the benefits that can come with it. Every week, we probably see an article that workplace wellness programs don't work. And oftentimes when I read those, I say, well, yeah, that wasn't a strategy. That was just a single intervention. But with over 20 years of experience, I have seen every size organization, every vertical, you can make positive change and see those benefits. And it's not just about workers being healthy. When we have a healthy, happy workforce, we do see things like productivity increase, which can lead to profitability, which all organizations love. We can see decreased attrition. So I think when organizations understand that this is possible, this future state, and really understand the business case of why, if they focus on this, again, that triple win, it benefits everyone. But just getting to that headspace can be really challenging because we tend to see all the obstacles in the way. But again, something like the CEO Pledge, which provides a lot of resources like the environment, best practices and policies and systems, it's an easy to follow guide that I think can help open the minds.
That's wonderful. Thank you. You know, and I would point out too that the CEO pledge is certainly intended to be part of a strategy. It's not a, you know, a silver bullet by any means to correct or to be holistic in any way. It's one more tool that organizations can use. And you made a great point about the triple wins, and this is very positive for the organization as well. It's not just sort of an expense or something that's good for the employees. This is good for the communities. It's good for the employers as well.
If I could
Thank
just
you.
add,
Of course.
I think leaders have to get out of their own way.
Mm.
Being the oldest person on this group, I'm going to earn my right to say this, that old think or traditionalistic mindset where we've never done it that way, or I've never led that way, and I've never done that. It's almost like you feel it's risky to start moving regularly throughout your workday or create walking meetings or things like that that we're going to all talk about. But you can get in your own way as a leader. And I've worked with many, I've had to coach many leaders to take a chance and see. And then suddenly, as we'll talk later about the research, it's amazing, but sometimes you got to get out of your own way.
Mm. That's actually a great segue. Thank you, Jack. Into maybe talking a little bit about the CEO pledge and physical activity in the workplace. Jack, you spent much of your career researching performance in the workplace, whether it be sport or C-suite or everything in between. And you talked about leaders need to get out of their way. So I'm sure you've had to convince many leaders to kind of take that chance. I'm wondering if you can tell us some of the key benefits of encouraging physical activity in the workplace for both employees and employers.
Well, if you'll allow me, I'll try to do it quickly, but I'd like to weave a little bit of a story.
Please.
It was basically anecdotal. When I got in the field many years ago, decades ago, it was very anecdotal. There was a word called corporate wellness, and nobody knew what it was. No one knew what it was. They said, this is a field you can go into. And really? You get paid to do this? And my doctorate's in exercise physiology, and you would talk to people, and after they exercised, they felt better. And after they moved more regularly, they felt better, but it was very anecdotal. We didn't have the ability to actually measure what's going on in the brain. And then, so at the Human Performance Institute, ever since our inception, the physical was the foundation of what we taught in energy management, which is what Maslow did as well. So this is not something that we sort of created out of the blue. Maslow's hierarchy begins with the physical as a foundation to who you are. And I think that's where I'd like to just challenge everyone to think that the physical, it's not the brain. See, we think that it's cognitive ability, and that's because we're hiring you to get your brain wrapped around problem solving. But the physical is where everything starts. So we've done that for decades at the Human Performance Institute. And then I will tell you just very quickly, in 2010, the ice broke for me on understanding this. There was a study that was published with a patient, and the patient had movement problems, and they wanted to actually look at the effects of physical activity on the brain. So they actually put, I couldn't believe it. I had to read the article several times before I really believed it, but they put a probe across the blood-brain barrier into the brain. And I'm going, who is the subject for this? Because, I mean, I used to have graduate students, and I'm not sure they would be willing to be subjects for this. But you put a probe, and then they started exercising on a treadmill, one case, and then another case on a bicycle. And here's what they found. The first 2 minutes, obviously the heart rate goes up, but the blood-brain barrier oxygen, it surged across, but the heart rate didn't change. See, the change, see what happens is the brain starts regulating blood flow. Well, that first 2 minutes, there's no regulation. The heart starts beating faster, and that means there's more blood coming into the brain, more oxygenated blood, but the brain doesn't recognize that it doesn't need that blood. What needs the blood is the muscles at that point. So it starts shunting the blood to itself, but it takes about 2 minutes. And what these researchers found was that there was a surge of oxygenated blood into the brain. And I'm going, my goodness, this is an explanation physiologically of what happens in the brain to make people actually have this feeling better. And they even said in the study, this could change everything what we know around a runner's high. So what we wanted to do at HPI, we commissioned a medical school to independently study this. And we had 3 research groups, a control group that sat all day, and we controlled nutritional intake, everything. We had one experimental group that exercised for 30 minutes at the beginning of the day on a treadmill at a very constant pace. And then we had an experimental group that every hour for 6 separate hours, they got on the treadmill for 5 minutes.
Mm.
And we measured what's the effect and what the study, I want to make sure I get this correct. So both the one exercise period a day and the microburst is what we called it. We called it microbursts of activity. They increased self-perceived energy and vigor compared to the sitting all day. So suddenly I feel better when I'm exercising. Then they found that the one exercise did not affect this, but the variable exercise, in other words, the 6 periods, improved mood throughout the day, decreased levels of fatigue throughout the day, reduced food cravings throughout the day, and also at the end of the day. So suddenly we start realizing there truly is a scientific benefit to regularly moving during your workday. And in finding all that, I think we just started and now the floodgates have broken up. But I mean, now we did several studies and papers on microbursts of physical activity throughout your day, and presented several at Karen's programs at Hero, at the Hero Forum. And the response has been amazing. And now there's companies that have changed their entire environment to walking meetings, to having exercise balls as chairs. So they're constantly working on posture. I mean, I can't tell you how I've seen this, and it just changes the entire environment of an organization.
Thank you, Jack.
You're welcome.
Jack, what I'm hearing from you is it's 5 minutes. Microburst is a 5 minutes. Instantly changes the physiology and someone's self-perception, their mood, maybe even their creativity. Have you read anything about creativity?
Well, what it does when you're more energized, see, when are you more creative? I mean, it's fascinating. You asked this question and you didn't really want me to go here necessarily, but where are you when you've been your most creative? Think about this. You're either exercising, you're in the shower, or you're asleep and you wake up in the middle of the night and you have a great idea. You're not going into a room going, we've got to be creative. You're more creative when you're in a free-flowing state. So absolutely, if you want to increase creativity, then you've got to have fun. I mean, think about it. Hard work doesn't necessarily have to be drudgery. It can be fun. You could work hard and have fun and take the breaks. A lot of companies, what they've done, they've gone to 50-minute hours and not 60-minute hours. And then they allow people to take a recovery break. And then what do you do on that recovery break? Don't look at your phone and check your email. Get recovery. And you can do it physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. You can recapture energy throughout your day. And suddenly you've got a healthier, happier culture that's higher performing than ever before.
That's great. Thank you. And some of the research studies that you've mentioned, we can include those in follow-up emails to attendees as well.
Sure.
Thank you. Karen, I had a question for you around the idea of a pledge, because that's very intentional for a CEO pledge, because it goes to the top, the organizational leader. I wonder, can you talk to us a little bit about the importance of having a voice at the top talk about wellness initiatives?
Absolutely. Thanks, Tom.
Excuse me.
Yeah, so Hero has done some research on this using the Hero scorecard database. In 2020, we published a study that showed that organizational and leadership support is the strongest predictor of financial outcomes, healthcare costs, medical risks, program participation, employee perception of the organizational support. It is the strongest predictor of those things. And so the visible sign of a CEO signing the pledge and communicating that and walking the talk really does go a long way for the workforce. Some of those, Jack has named some of those things that are part of that supportive culture, that environment that wraps around a workforce, but it's the policies, programs, and permissions, the 3 Ps. Making sure that physical activity and health and well-being is incorporated into the policies, and that there is intentional policy about physical activity and really walking the talk, the walking meetings, standing desks. I'm hosted today. I've been a guest at the American Heart Association offices, thanks to Ayana. for allowing me to hang out with her today. And, they've got a treadmill desk and their standing desk, and those standing desks really do support the research that Jack talks about. It encourages that standing up after. I've been looking at the Pomodoro method, which, breaks up into chunks of 25 minutes. And so after 25 minutes, you're supposed to take a break. And it just sort of those things really do enable just natural physical activity throughout the day.
I think I need to follow up with you about the Pomodoro that concept. That sounds fascinating. Chase, we heard Karen mention it's the strongest predictor is CEO or someone at the top showing leadership. Chase, do you have some examples or ideas for how, beyond just signing the pledge, what can a leader do to help create that culture that supports physical activity or even any well-being initiative?
Absolutely. And I feel like Karen and Jack just mentioned a lot of things, which it really is leading by example. And I can tell a little story of an organization that's in Washington State. Their president is very much into physical activity, and she sets the standard and goes on visible walks throughout the workday. She also, I think about those 3 Ps Karen mentioned, gives permission and really encourages her leaders to do the same thing. And so she has actually sent me videos of one of the frontline managers taking their team around the building as well for a walk. So we're talking about a culture of health and well-being where this is the norm. And what I think is really great too is that everyone can be a leader when it comes to creating a culture of health and well-being in the workplace. So everyone on this call, you might not be in the CEO or a senior leadership position, but if you start to go on walks, if you start to kind of lead by example, other people do start to follow as well. But I really think it starts with senior leaders leading by example, because that gives permission for other people to start to lead by example. And I have to say with this organization as well, sometimes it can just be fun. This president is obsessed with the movie Monty Python. And so years ago, they had a silly walk competition and employees did silly walks. That has become embedded in their culture. So now when they're walking around laps around the campus, when they walk by the president's office, there's a sign that says silly walk for Stacy. And people silly walk when they're by her office. So it's such a culture of health and well-being. And it started with the CEO just taking walks around the property. And again, encouraging frontline managers to do it. Then employees started doing it on their own. And that's how we see these things happen and start to take off.
Wow, those are great examples. Thank you. Chase, if I may stick with you, because I had a follow-up question. Do you have ideas for remote employees? How to engage remote employees in physical activity?
Absolutely.
And Jack, I'll go to you as well if you have thoughts, but I know Chase has done some work in that area as well.
Absolutely. I love what Jack mentioned earlier. And I do see a lot of organizations doing the 50-minute and 25-minute meetings. So there's even settings in a lot of your technology where you can just make that the standard for meetings. I think implementing something like a daily wellness break, which might just be a 10-minute break a day where it can be a best practice. It might not be an enforced policy. It's something that's on the clock. It's paid. So people don't need to clock in and clock out for it. But I think encouraging people like, hey, we want you to take your wellness break. I think too, if you can do that at a specific time. So I've seen an organization where they only do it weekly, but every single Thursday at 1 o'clock, no matter where you sit in the world, the whole company kind of shuts down for 15 minutes. It's the weekly wellness break for the company, but you can do something like that on the daily as well and just designate a time and really encourage people to do that. I think taking advantage of software as well can be helpful. So getting prompts that pop up that remind you, hey, it's time to move, it's time to take a break, similar to like the Pomodoro method as well, which is great. So I think when you're working with remote employees, we can leverage technology, but then for people who are maybe truck drivers or working retail or healthcare workers, people that are out, I think it's that encouragement to take the time, and to really just keep reinforcing it with communications and messaging. So constantly reiterating that they have permission to do that. And when they feel like they're not, okay, I really do have permission, I'm not going to get in trouble, this is actually encouraged, they'll start to take advantage of it. And that's, I feel like, when we see the positive peer pressure come into play as well. I saw this with a plumbing organization where, you know, they went from kind of making fun of each other for doing healthy things to now they make fun of each other for not doing healthy things. And their favorite activity of the year is they do a big family 5K. People walk with their families on their own. They pick wherever they want to do it. They pick their own, the company designates a weekend. You do it on your own, and they provide t-shirts for everyone, and people just send in pictures, and it's just really beautiful to see. So that was a lot of different things, but hopefully some things resonated with everyone listening.
Those were wonderful things. Thank you. And I think what we tease each other about is often very indicative of the culture. So if we're teasing each other about not being healthy, that is a true marker that a culture has changed. Thank you, Chase. Karen, Jack, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I just really want to underscore something that Chase said, because I think it's really important. Not requiring employees to clock out to be able to do these things. I think giving them the permission to do this on work time is really important, and can be assumed or overlooked. So, you know, be intentional and overt about it, and communicative about it, I think, is really important. So just wanted to underscore that. Great examples, Chase.
And Tom, I'll just emphasize that even more. A lot of leaders assume that their people, they say, look, they know they have permission. No, they don't. No, they don't. As a leader, you have to intentionally tell them they have permission, because innately, no one believes they have permission to get up from their desk and leave. So leaders have to be very intentional with this and do not assume that, well, I've told them that they've got permission. I said it at a town hall meeting. So you got to say it 100 times, because the innate part of us feels guilty about getting up and leaving our desk. So leaders have to be really proactive on this. I want to really drive that home.
You really can't over communicate when it comes to permission, right?
Oh, you can't.
Yep. I'm wondering do any of you have experience or thoughts on how to overcome some resistance that employees might feel, or might feel like, I don't want to be physically active, or I feel like you're making me be active, that kind of thing. Do you have any tips for someone who might be at home right now or in the office watching this webinar, thinking this is a good idea, but am I going to get, you know, some angry emails from the staff if I do this? Anyone want to take that one?
Well, I'll start by saying, first, you have to assume that the organization has set you up for success. Like, we have to, you know, make that's a pretty big assumption, that organizations have put in place the things to set for success. And one thing I've yet to mention is the importance of training, middle manager training, to be able to, because, you know, those are often the closest influencers to the employees, you know, taking the time to do what is needed and having the permissions. And so that middle manager training, I know we heard, especially in the last 4 years, I won't say the P word, I'm trying to avoid that recently, but in the last 4 years, that was really a really critical tool for organizations to focus on middle manager training, to make sure that close level of support was trained up and prepared to be able to support the individuals. I'll start, but I have a feeling Chase has a great answer for this, and I'll just start. You know, the affinity groups are often a good way to engage those who are resistant, because they're coming together with like groups of individuals who have similar interests or hobbies or activities. Also, including family and spouses and family and friends, making those programs and initiatives available also helps to make it more fun, because you're engaging in these activities with those who are sort of in your social circle.
Thank you, Karen.
Well,
Well,
Tom, the first thing I
go ahead,
thought,
go
oh,
ahead,
sorry,
please.
Jack.
No, please.
The first thing I thought of was no one likes forced fun. So I think we need to make sure that we're not dictating, here, this is exactly what you need to do. I think if organizations can be a little bit more flexible, like, hey, we really want you to prioritize your physical health and well-being. So at any point during the day, work with your direct supervisor. You can take a 10-minute floating break. This is paid time on the clock, and you can do what feels best for you. And by the way, here's some walking paths that are close by that are a 10-minute loop. Here is an area we've created where you can go stretch, a quiet room, and maybe there's a mat and things like that. So it's letting people do the physical activity that's best for them. If someone's maybe on their feet and they're in manufacturing, or they might not want to then go on an additional walk, but they might really benefit from some stretching, or something with a band. And then someone who's sitting at a desk all day, yes, we absolutely want to get up and move or stretch our bodies. So I think if we offer some flexibility, and then again, it's kind of like giving that permission. It's like, do what's best for you. We are just going to create and cultivate an environment for then you as the worker to make the decision on how you want to move and maybe when you want to move. We might need to dictate a few things, like we might need to dictate the time, but if we're not dictating the activity, I think that is really helpful, because then that gives the power of choice to the individual, to do the thing that's best for them.
Wonderful. Jack, did you have something you wanted to add?
Sure, Tom, you didn't invite this to be a counseling or a coaching session, but I'm going to do that.
I am right now, please.
So I am inviting an individual that is resistant to movement I'm inviting them to challenge themselves, and challenge their thinking, because you don't know what you don't know. We're not saying get a new set of clothes. We're not saying join a gym. We're not saying, start exercising in front of people you don't know. We're not saying it. We're saying go for a walk. And you might not feel like it benefits you. You might have that traditional mindset that I mentioned earlier, that I can't do that. I can't be productive when I'm moving. I can't. That's more social. And there's nothing wrong with being more social. But I would just challenge you. And the word picture I use has nothing to do with movement. But the word picture that I use is that a lot of people get stuck in traditional mindsets of how they behave at work. And I love to use the example, because everybody has either had a child or they've got a niece or a nephew that's really, really young. And during your workday, you may have called and talked to them. And I challenge you, let's say it's a 3-year-old and you're on the phone during your workday, you've taken a break and you're talking to them. Does it go like this? Well, my day really stinks. Is that what you say to a 3-year-old? No, you know what? Because they don't care. They don't care that you're having a bad day. So how do you talk to this 3-year-old? Hey, how are you? You doing okay? Yeah. Oh, it's good to hear your voice. And then you hang up. How do you feel? You feel fantastic. Yet you were kicking and screaming. You didn't know the 3-year-old was going to get on the phone. You thought you were going to be talking to your relative and you could complain about your day. But the issue is that you don't know what you don't know. So challenge your own thinking and try it. We're not saying do something in front of a lot of people. We're saying do it on your own and then assess, how do I feel now? You'll be amazed.
That's great. Thank you. What we're talking about is really so individualized when it comes down to it. The idea of being intentional about physical activity is kind of a strange human behavior to begin with. We didn't have to do this for many thousands of years, and now we're asking people to go get up and go move, and it has to be something that they enjoy or feel fulfilled in some way. And maybe it's social, maybe it's alone. It seems really important that it's highly tailored, which is one of the challenges. I'm wondering if any of you would like to share some sort of creative ways that you've seen organizations encourage people to be active, or things that you've just seen some groups do. Like the silly walk was a great example. Are there other things that you've thought of or seen organizations do that you might encourage other organizations to try, just to engage as many people as possible and expand the number of choices?
Well, I've seen a lot of organizations, and it doesn't need to be a big organization, but I've seen them do monthly movement challenges where they get teams together. Let's say you're a fairly large organization, get teams and challenge yourselves to move. and they'd count the steps, and everybody gets a step counter that are very inexpensive these days. And I've seen organizations do monthly movement challenges to see who gets the most steps, and then you make it a company wide. Now you don't force people. Again, we come back to that where it's if you want to be involved, but people want to be a part of something, and I think you can use movement as something to bring people together.
Yeah, thank you.
In fact, when I climbed Kilimanjaro, which is that sign right there, Johnson & Johnson did a global movement challenge synchronized with when I started climbing. So I had a satellite, and every evening I posted on Instagram from Kilimanjaro how we were doing that day. You don't think that was pressure to make it to the top? I had 150,000 people following us. There were 4 of us from J&J on the mountain, but it was a movement challenge. And it started the same day we started climbing Kilimanjaro. I mean, it was a very creative thing to do. And yeah, I'm not saying do that, obviously, but I am saying get creative, have fun with it.
Yeah. Love that idea.
I'll give you an example. The Hero team is a 100% remote team. And for a couple of years, we leveraged the tools from the Global Wellness Summit called the Wellness Moonshot. And the Wellness Moonshot, it's a 12-month moon calendar with an intention for every month. Physical activity has been one of their focuses. They provide a number of free resources on their website, and one of the things they do is to schedule a moonshot celebration for the month. I actually don't know if they still do this, but they were doing it during the years that the Hero team was using it. And during that moonshot celebration, it was an hour-long Zoom call, but part of that celebration was a dance. It was free movement. It was get up out of your chairs, everybody in the Zoom room together and just move. And it was a fun activity, and you could see the energy in the Zoom room go up. So that's one thing that just came to mind that I haven't thought about in a while.
Yeah. I have a favorite example, Tom, of a company who really made some environmental changes that really encouraged a movement. Where they were located, brutal, frigid winters. So people stayed inside. So what they did in the office building on kind of the external perimeter of the office, they inlaid new carpet that looked like a track. And people would actually take loops around the office space, and they just had a whiteboard, and people would do tick marks and kind of track how many laps they did. And they also had kind of a manufacturing as part of their business. So they had a warehouse. And what they did in the warehouse was those workers were on their feet, being kind of doing physical labor throughout the day. But they created a wellness corner. And every single person could take a 10-minute wellness break a day. So in the corner, there was a big stretching rack, a ball, bands, and a 10-minute timer. So how it would work is kind of when the shift started, I might be the first one. Chase, do you want to take a wellness break? Sure. I would step off the floor, go to the wellness corner, start the timer. It's the only place you can go. You can't go outside and take a smoke break or something like that. But I would take my 10-minute break. And when it was done, I'd come back to the line, tap Jack on the shoulder. Jack, it's your turn. And if he didn't want to go, he could say, I don't want to go. Let Karen go. But it was just 2 very small, very low cost environmental changes that they made, which boosted physical activity in the workplace. So I always love sharing that one.
Fascinating examples. Thank you. Karen, you mentioned dancing. I'm so glad you did also, because that's one of the ways that cross cultures have been moving for thousands of years again. Because it's fun. That's one of the only ways we've been intentional about moving for a long time, and that's also seems to be popular across generations. And I bring that up because we have a great question in the Q&A from Michael, who asks, how do the generations differ in their practice and opinion of physical activity at work? Have any of you seen any research or in your own experience seen different opinions from generations about physical activity at work?
I don't have a direct answer. I will say that the next generation of employees entering the workforce now are are being more selective of where they go to work based on these supportive practices, based on the organizational support of a culture of health and well-being. So they are looking, organizations who are espousing a comprehensive approach for health and well-being are distinguishing themselves as employers of choice for this next generation of employees. But it's a great question, and I wish I had some research to cite for that.
Yeah, Tom, I don't know of any research, but anecdotally I can share. And whenever we talk about generations, I feel like I have to say I'm a Gen X, so people know like where my bias is. But what I've seen, I recently worked at an organization that had a great culture of wellness, and part of that was people going on walking breaks. And the younger generation was always out there. They were always taking their walking breaks. There was a group chat on Teams. People tended to go around 10 and 2 and, hey, I'm going for a walk, who wants to come? And to Karen's point, that younger generation, they want that to be the norm, and they're coming in and expecting that their workplace is going to allow them to do those things. And what I see and observe with our older generation who's been at work for a while is this is very new. And so they're not used to having that permission. That's not the norm for them. So I think they need more communication and permission and encouragement that, no, you are an amazing worker. We know you are. We want you to do this. Because when you take time for yourself, you're even a better performer. So we want you to take these times out of your day to focus on yourself and your own health and well-being. So it's just anecdotally, but I see our younger generation this is natural and it's expected. And our older generation is more like, are you sure about this? Are you sure this is a good idea? Because I should be working right now. So they really need that permission that, no, this actually makes you an even better worker. Like, you're doing amazing. Like, please prioritize yourself.
You know, it's anecdotal, but I think a lot of people are probably nodding along with you. They're seeing the same thing in their own experience. And the younger generations give me a lot of hope that the CEO pledge will succeed as a social movement, or that'll at least become a cultural norm to be encouraging physical activity. Hey, got a couple other great questions in the Q&A. Nichelle has a question. It's interesting. I hadn't thought about this. It says you mentioned leadership support, which I think those of us who are in the field are aware of and have experienced. However, what about the title of the person designing, managing, and evaluating programs? Is there anything to support this person having a title such as director versus coordinator? So I think maybe if it's the well-being coordinator versus the well-being director, does that carry more weight? I think that's what I get from that question. Any thoughts on that?
Karen could probably answer it from a more practical perspective, but I'll give you a more theoretical perspective. The person is a very important person. I mean, there are companies right now that have chief well-being officers in their organizations. That's the credence that they're putting to this. Deloitte naming one that has a chief well-being officer. And I think we as leaders have to recognize the importance of this. So I think the title has to be significant within your organization. I get concerned about the word coordinator. That's just me. That's my personal thing. The other thing that I want to add is something just to dovetail on what's already been said. I do believe the younger, and again, I'm the older person in the group, but I have a younger son who's a Gen Zer, and they're the first generation that's actually grown up in a digital world. So don't bypass the fact that they are digital in how they think. They might want to be more active, but try to bring in some of the digital things that could help them be more active. In other words, don't go with old traditional mindset of let's go be active, let's go for a walk. There might be other apps that could get them to be more active and record their activity and get them more enthused with it. So I really invite leaders to get creative around the digital world that we live in right now.
I would just echo what Jack said. I think the fact that there is a person dedicated to it is the first big step, because some organizations don't. And I think the higher their title signifies, even better. Preferably a seat at the C-suite table, because then it is in the senior leadership conversation. It is resource to the to the degree that it is, helpful and successful with financially and human resource. So that's would be my response to the question.
Yeah, wonderful answers. Thank you. I have some more questions from myself, but we keep getting more questions in the Q&A that are really good, so I want to stick with those. Kristen asks, as a workplace physical activity researcher, what data would be most helpful to report in studies to build up the evidence for workplace physical activity, like implementation evaluations, feasibility, or physiological effects? Are there things that you wish you had research for that maybe you think anecdotally or you're not sure of and you'd love to see some research? Anything you'd...
I would love to see more research around cognitive function, like the effects of physical activity on the brain from a very practical perspective. I think that would be very receptive from CEOs to see that data. So I would love to see more around cognitive function, executive function, what happens with physical activity. We weren't able to study that in the time that we had. We had very positive findings, but we didn't get into the cognitive function very much. And I think that'd be critical.
Mm-hmm.
You know what would be fun, Tom, is if we did a stock study, like the Hero Scorecard stock study that showed that high scores on the Hero Scorecard outperformed the S&P 500. Let's do a study on the organizations that signed the CEO pledge and how they perform in a portfolio against the S&P 500. Because tying it to the business case, I think Chase mentioned it earlier, that has been and continues to be one of the greatest challenges for health and well-being industry in general, is just continuing to show the value and connecting it to the business outcomes that really matter to the C-suite.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Some more activity in the Q&A. I know Sean just sent a link to a research article. We'll try to capture that for folks in the follow-up. Thank you for doing that, Sean. Momoko asks, have you ever had a resistant CEO? And if so, how did you change their mind about implementing the 3 Ps? Anyone want?
All right, I'll be happy to. Well, yeah, I have. And there's a two-prong attack. Number one, you've got to show them the data. You've got to show them that there are scientific benefits to this. Then number two, though, because the very first thing you're going to hear, remember, this is a traditional, probably old think mindset. They're going to go, well, that's great, but it won't work here. So you now have to come alongside them and talk about best practices and show them that it can work and how it might work within their culture. So that's where your director of well-being, that's where they're going to really need training, is how to come alongside their senior leadership to show them that it will work in our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what I think also correlates to what kind of data are we trying to collect, but when you have to figure out what is most important to that CEO from a data perspective, from an outcomes. The first 2 questions I always like to ask someone in the C-suite is, when we talk about worker health and well-being, what does that mean to you? What does that look like to you? Because you will hear a variety of different answers. And then I always follow up with, well, then what does success look like? So we first have to identify what is their viewpoint of worker health and well-being and what does success look like for them, because that's usually the entry point for the program to begin. Sometimes it's a very narrow view that they have in a narrow scope, but that's the door. That's how we get in, and then we start to broaden and add on more initiatives and more resources and more different types of programs. But figuring out what's most important to them and how to kind of sell well-being aligned with that outcome is a great first step to just get the CEO on your side.
Yes. What a great question and great answers. Thank you all. Let's do one more Q&A and then we're going to get close to wrapping things up. Shelby asked a question that I was actually going to ask also. Given that physical activity is hugely important to well-being efforts, as you look ahead to maybe 2025, what are some trends that you might think of outside of physical activity, even though this is a Physical Activity Alliance, but we're big picture here. are there things you're looking ahead and saying that's going to be a really big deal, or we're doing a little bit of it now, we need to be doing more of it in the future? You want to take that crystal ball? Jack?
Again, my age might show, but I'll take it on because I'm doing a lot of this in tennis coaching, Tom, to come back to how you wanted to start, because we live in a digital world now. And I don't know if people have seen the study. You can do a Google search on social media or technology and optic nerve in the brain. And the Gen Z, they're finding, is the most nearsighted generation in history. And they're blaming it on a lack of sunshine and a lack and the technology of the lighting of the technology. There's no question that technology is changing the brain. And we in the well-being industry have to be really attuned to that. So I think the idea of, I've never even said this before, Karen, I'm digital health, the idea of digital health and how you, and it's not just, it's not just like limiting your social media, and it's not telling them to lock it up for an hour a day. And I'm talking about youth and coaching, but the idea of understanding your own digital health, because we've never had to deal with this. And I'll just expand upon that just for a moment, and then I'll turn it over to my two fellow panelists. And that is that, technology didn't exist before 1996. I mean, really, it didn't. 25 years. So in other words, 25 years is all, yet we're dealing with evolution of thousands and thousands of years. But in 25 years, we've had to change how we live. The smartphones came out around 2007. Now you're dealing with 17 years, 15 years. You're dealing with periods of time that are minutia compared to evolution. And yet we have had to adapt. Well, who's taught us how to adapt? No one. No one's taught us how to adapt. And this is where I'm spending a lot of my energy right now in the idea of what do we need to do? Because we are headed for a problem as attested by this research on the optic nerve. And it's pretty prevalent right now. So I would challenge us to be thinking about that in the well-being industry, is the idea of digital health. And what does that look like? I'm not sure what the answer is yet, but hopefully I'm going to be able to contribute. I'll leave it at that.
Jack.
Just briefly, I think AI and machine learning, I think it's the good, bad, and the ugly. I think that is going, I mean, if we look at just the maturity of it in just the last few months since it became part of our daily life, I think that is going to have one of the biggest impacts in the near and long-term future on health and well-being, and can be used for good, but we have to be really aware of the bad and the ugly too.
Yeah, I can wrap up, Tom. A shameless plug. Our next Wellbeing Think Tank event is on emerging trends in workplace health and well-being. And the 4 things we're going to be talking about is the impact of caregiving to our workforce, menopause and how to talk about menopause and provide resources, recovery-friendly workplaces and what that means to be a recovery-friendly workplace, and new treatments for treatment-resistant depression. So a lot of workplaces are very focused on mental health, and all of those things impact worker mental health. So those are a few of the topics we're diving into.
Wonderful. I think that is a great way to end, although I wish we could do this all day. I feel like this has been a master class here, and I've just really been honored to play a very small role here on the screen with you 3 incredible experts. This session is being recorded. We'll make sure attendees receive a link to that recording, as well as some follow-up information on the CEO pledge and other things that came up today during the conversation. If you submitted a question in the Q&A and we weren't able to get to it, we'll try to follow up with you with an answer. And lastly, I just want to thank everyone for attending, and thank you to this incredible panel. Thank you so much. I asked all of you and you said yes, and I was so excited that you'd be participating. So with that, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the week, and we'll see you again real soon. Take care, everybody.
Yeah.